Hey everybody, today is the most anticipated update to Halo Infinite that has ever been in the game's history. Today 343 rolled out the test to fix networking and desync to PvP. 343 changed Squad Battle, the map with classic playlists from past games, into their networking test. Today, what I'm going to talk about is all the good things about this update, everything that is much better, and then everything that is worse. What needs more work, at least before it gets rolled out to every playlist in the entire game, as I really have some concerns at the moment. As always, you can jump into Halo Infinite right now, play the Combat Workshop Squad Battle Networking Test playlist, and you can give your feedback down in the comments below. After playing for 6 to 12 hours today, it really has confirmed my suspicions that I think 343 has stripped back the networking model that they made for Halo Infinite. They stripped it back all the way to what they had on Halo 5, as that was the last time there was no desync and the game was stable, and then they built it back up for Halo Infinite the exact way it was in past Halo games. Now, is this better? In some ways yes, in other ways no. We'll cover the positives first, what the new networking model actually helps fix, and then I'll cover the negatives at the end. So first up, and the most noticeable change about this new networking model is how smooth vehicles are when you drive them around the map. Even the collision works better with other players, as shown on screen here. Before you could just drive past the mongoose, now it actually has collision with the players. Next up, I noticed when I fired my gun at an enemy, the bullet would actually register faster than in the past. There wasn't as much delay, even though I was on the same connection. The downside to this, and I'll cover it more in a little bit, is if an enemy is in the open and you shoot them as they run behind a wall, in the previous system, it would still deal damage. Now, it does not. The next big positive, that's a really big one for custom games, is now Halo Infinite can have dynamic moving objects like the wheel on Zanzibar actually moving in game. It's much smoother now. Elevators can now work in game as well. And on the whole, this is the biggest change overall. The scripting for Forge, making custom games, how vehicles interact with the environment in custom games is going to be so much smoother for all players. Doesn't matter what connection you're on, it's going to be much better. Best way I can sum it up is it's less janky, much more smooth, and overall vehicles are much more responsive. Now, I tried messing around with crates and objects, and this is me punching a crate on 15 ping with the old setting, and then here's the new setting. They're both pretty much the same. However, I have noticed that now with the new model, if you walk into a certain object, 1, the object might go flying, and 2, you might go flying. This gives me even more evidence that it's just Halo 5's networking model and then built upon that, as this was a very common bug during Halo 5. Also during Halo 5 and past Halo games, is there's an old bug with the Banshee. When you get into the Banshee, there's 2 sets of weapons, the plasma cannon and the Banshee bomb. Upon getting into the Banshee, it would flicker between both weapons and they both wouldn't be usable. And look what's happening with the Wasp now. It has the chain guns and the rockets is the exact same bug, and it's never been in Halo Infinite until this networking change. Now, this brings me to the bugs and the things that really need to be fixed if 343 decides to go with this model. I spoke about the Wasp being bugged, how it rapidly swaps through the weapons. It also now has input lag when you're flying it around. So does the Banshee. Vehicles, when you drive them around now, have delay based on your ping, which is not good. And the Wasp will not even take off unless you actually hit the button to raise it. Before, you could just hold forward on the stick, it would go forward. It doesn't do that anymore. I also said, and here's an example on screen, interacting with an object will just launch you straight up into the sky. That needs to be ironed out too. Now, this brings me to the big issues with the update, and for all the good this update has done, it has done some really bad things as well. Projectiles, so the rocket launcher, the skewer, and even grenades are really bad now. Here's an example of the skewer on screen here. I accurately lead the projectile, just like I would in the normal games that I've done for 15,000 games, and the bullet goes nowhere near I'm aiming. It's also brought back a bug that if you have aim assist on the rockets and you have high ping, it doesn't matter where you aim, the rocket launcher projectile will come out sideways. Another thing that is really bad is grenades now have throwing delay latency. So on Halo Infinite currently, if you throw a grenade, it'll be instantaneous now based on your connection. And this is like past Halo games, it'll have a delay before you throw it. This is bad in a way because it makes grenades much more harder to use for anyone outside of America, or even people on the East Coast to West or West Coast to East. This new networking model is fantastic if you have less than 15 ping. Unfortunately, only 10% of the player base plays on 15 ping or less. So for the other 90% of you guys, it's going to be quite rough in terms of bullet registration. What do I mean by this? And I touched on it before, is now if you shoot an enemy and they're in the open and they run behind cover, previously it would still register damage. It didn't matter what your ping was, so it was even for everybody, and you would accurately do damage. You shoot someone in the open, leading to a fairer matchmaking system for all. Now, it just doesn't do damage. People just run in the open, and as long as they're near a wall, I'll have plenty of examples on screen for you to watch while I'm talking about this, it just doesn't hit. If you have very low ping, fantastic. You won't have any issues. But for anyone who plays on say 80 ping or higher, and that's a lot of you guys, it's gonna be a rough experience. Even myself, when I was using the sniper rifle today, I was hitting people in the head and it just wasn't registering. We also have equipment and the grapple hook is having some issues. When you hook onto something with the grapple hook, it will do a double take. Example on screen now. It just doesn't look clean to me. Splattering enemies also has a small chance to just stop when you hit the player. Following on from that, the Doomsday audio can actually reset, lag, and not explode when it needs to. So, in summary, 343's made some really great strides to 1. Fix desync, 2. Make it so moving objects in Forge and custom games now, including scripts, are much better. Vehicles are smoother to operate. However, now, if you have high ping, it has a bad input delay. And now, how Spartans interact with the environment is much more smooth. In saying that, the trade-off is the hit registration. If you play above a certain ping, your bullets aren't going to register if your enemies are running between walls. So, in its current state, I can't recommend 343 actually roll this out to the whole game. It is really great that 343 is doing this testing playlist, so I can give feedback. You guys can give feedback. Leave your comments down below, as there's definitely some good, but also some bad. I'm sure 343 will further refine this heading into the new year. I'm also very surprised we got to play it before 2024. I did not expect it to come out so soon. But guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have you tested out the new networking model? What did you think of it? With that said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.